Be careful what you say or tweet on social media because you don't know when it could come back and cancel you. Are we seeking to allow growth through accountability, or are we simply imposing our points of view by public shaming? I'm Nina, and I'm your host of Anti-Cancel Culture.
Good evening. This is Anti-Cancel Culture coming to you live from my home studio, and we have a smoke detector going off. But we are here to have a great show tonight, so please, that will be taken care of. No need to be alarmed. We are here and excited for another conversation on Black love, Black community. And Rob Hill Sr. is our guest for this evening, who is affectionately known as the Heart Healer. He is an author, speaker, and influencer who shares his perspectives and experiences on relationships, purpose-filled living, and community organizer. Rob, let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's bring him in. I don't know. You'll hear that we have a slight situation.
Is everything okay? It's not an emergency, right?
You know, our producers, I may need to step just to get the sound to go away. But give me one. I hate that this is happening, but this is the show must go on. Stand by.
Playing that.
And we're back. My apologies. Thank you so much again. This is real life, folks. We are on live television, so I will take a moment and breathe. And take two. Again, we are here with Rob Hill Sr. And so we're gonna again get right to it. Do we need to cancel saying that Black men don't protect Black women? Or is there truth to this statement?
I think that we should cancel the statement.
Cancel the statement.
Now, you said, is there truth to this statement? Yes, obviously. The conversation is something that we can't ignore. It's there in our face, and there's several stories, examples of Black women not feeling protected. Mm-hmm. I think we do need to take heed, listen, right? But I think repeating that is not going to get us closer to what we want, and which is actual better protection, better standards of care, better consideration, right? So I think that cancel the phrase in the sense that it's been effective. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say something that may be a bit more affirming, if we will.
And I think that is a very good point. And one thing that I have to keep in mind, and that in the conversations that I have with people, is that there's a variety of things that people think protection means. So what exactly have we as a collective community even defined what protection means or looks like in action?
No, not at all. I'm not clear on it. You know, I do know that I grew up in a family full of women. And I am very keen to, at least try to make them feel secure or protected or at least safe in my presence. That's not 100% guaranteed, right? But I think that ultimately it is communicating and talking with the women in your life about ways you can step up, right? Because there's a thing of, seeing a mean comment on Instagram or Twitter and not amping that up or speaking against that. But there's another thing about showing up in real life. Mm-hmm. And I think if we do a better job of that, it probably will reverse more of the narrative, But when we talk about what that is, I'm not clear, but I'll kind of try to volley that to you. What would that feel like to be protected?
And I'm glad that it's interesting to hear you say, you know what, I don't know. And all I know to do is what it sounds like you've been doing. And I know for me personally, it's definitely having men who are willing, if I'm in a volatile situation, or if I see a sister who's in a volatile situation. I mean, I can go back to high school and seeing guys behave towards young ladies in ways that were unacceptable, and other girls were the only ones who would step up and kind of check him. And, his friends didn't say a whole lot about it. And we see that, I've seen that in real life kind of growing up, right? And even as an adult, and we certainly see it online now. Right. And I know, we talk about wanting to hold men accountable. And so I think that it's important to determine what protection looks like. And in the cyberspace, that may look like something totally different than it did, when I was in high school or when we're out on dates or whatever the case may be. Right. So how do men, okay, because again, we women have our ideas of when we feel protected and what it is that you all do and say to make us feel protected. But when you brothers are having conversations, how do those go, right? When we know that there are people out in the cyberspace like 50 Cent who are, saying that they don't believe certain women are being abused or who may be violent in their language and speech themselves, right? How do men communicate with one another and hold one another accountable?
I think that it starts with, having that basis of friendship, right? Mm-hmm. Or even respect for one another, and how men bond is interesting, right? It's usually about who's getting money and the direction to which, we can advance our careers. So I don't think often unless it's like childhood or maybe collegiate, it's probably maybe not the most genuine relationship. So a lot of you guys may feel a bit not in a position to bring that up. Now, in conversations that I've had, whether it be on platforms like Clubhouse in the last 3 months, or just, I guess in more group chat functions, has been, more so just talking about literal situations, right? You just got to be willing to discuss things from a lot of point of views. There are the guys who have brash point of views like 50, right? And ultimately, it's like if we just cast them off, they're still influential, right? So it's like maybe we got to try a little bit harder with these people. Right. But ultimately, it's a conversation that none of us can ignore, especially within the last few years. But it is a new conversation of one to navigate. When you see corny stuff like, we had a conversation a few weeks ago in LA, and they were talking about a particular guy who I guess he had a few settlements about his behavior, right? And the way we even have to talk about it is like, we can't name him, but the person that he had it against, she didn't want to be known for that, right? So it's like, we would love to just call this dude out, right? Nobody's hanging with him anymore. Right. But unfortunately, it's like there's no public statement to be made because everyone's respecting her wishes. You know what I mean? And that is something that she mandated, right? But it's like, of course, when we see him, it ain't cool. He know it ain't cool. Right, right. And ultimately, these guys know it's not cool. They just do a very good job of hiding it. And I wish we were in each other's homes, I guess, to that. But really, they say you don't know a man till you've been in his home. And a lot of us, we claim to know each other because we've been maybe seeing each other once or twice over the years. Close proximity. We don't really know each other. We've been socially interacting, but we don't really know each other, right?
You bring up a really, really good point. The fact that, we know that communities are built on relationships. And so I think that it is interesting, this idea that men don't, and Natasha Stovall, our guest last week, actually spoke to this point, the fact that a lot of times men don't have the solid relationships, the genuine relationships and friendships that go beyond this surface level. So I can see where the need may need to be, okay, we look at how do we go about shifting this culture, right, and healing our relationship, but with one another as men and women. But it seems like brothers have a whole lot more digging to do themselves, right, amongst yourselves. And even in the public spaces, cyberspaces, I've seen where brothers are quick to say, well, here y'all go throwing all of us in the same pot. And it's like, y'all are really taking kind of the same stance. Like, I'm not racist, the way white folks might say, well, I'm not racist. All people we're not all racist. Well, we didn't say you're all racist, right? We didn't say you're all abusers. We didn't say all men are, but you not taking, holding a brother accountable or even looking to be comfortable enough and vulnerable enough to have those conversations is something that is going to have to be unpacked, right?
Yeah, because it's a character issue. It's an integrity, right? And we have to be willing to check ourselves and say, what is it in me that doesn't feel like man to man, I can speak on my principles. You know? What is it in me, man to man, that I wouldn't be able to stand for what I knew was right? Right. There's an interesting video that came out a few days ago, and it was like, I guess, this prank of somebody kidnapping a person and putting them in a trunk, right? And they did it in front of couples to see the different reactions of men. Some of the men, you know, turned their lady around and said, "Hey, let's act like we didn't see this," and kept going. Right? Some of the men were stunned in their track, and then their girl helped. And then some of the guys jumped on the guy and saved the person, right? And what we saw was a variety of reaction, and we all are having to improve our base level instincts. Right? Yeah, maybe in another generation it was cool to not have regard, right? Or to be manly and not have consideration for others. But in this one, it needs to be imperative that we check one another, right? And I think that while we've done it in other areas, man, you ain't getting money, you ain't doing this, you know what I mean? Like, you don't got this car, you don't have this watch. We need to make, you know, general kindness a value. But it's hard because generally men may be struggling with self-worth issues. You know? Because I always ask young men, like, why do you feel worthy of love? That's like, I don't know.
Wow.
And naturally they can go into maybe because they have things or they have success, but it's like not just because they were born and they're a being, right? Not just because they're actually a spirit, right? Worthy of being loved, right? They think we need some qualifiers,
right,
for it, you know?
Right.
Again, back on track. As far as men having conversations about protecting women and engaging amongst one another, I see it happening more now than ever, right? When I was growing up, I was one of the only dudes who didn't like guys calling women bees around me. You know, I just thought, like, don't, you know what I mean? You might slip up and say that about my cousin one time and I'm gonna have to hit you, you know? But for real, or I might chop you in the throat, something, you know, I was in the
quick.
Excuse my aggressive actions. But I think I come from an environment where if you were playing with women the wrong way, you was gonna get bruised up, you know. And I think that environment has left. I don't know.
Right, and I think that a lot of it may even come down to, you just spoke some amazing truths that need to be unpacked even deeper, I'm sure, about just the ways men show up in the world, right? The ways they see themselves in the world. You know, not feeling worthy of love simply for being, right? Not being worthy of respect, you know, having to earn it and working and fighting to earn respect. And so this leads me to this question, because while we're concerned about whether men are holding one another accountable, I, as a woman, want to know, how can we do better to protect you all? And is protection what you need or what you're looking for? As far as, is there any way that women can offer protection or that safe space, if you will, even if it's not protection, perhaps a safe space for people to be? Is that something that you all need from us? And then how do we go about?
Well, well, so you asked, is that something that we need? Yes, at a human basic level, right? How does that operate in the world at this point? It's tough, right? Because it's like, is that the most pressing issue, or should we be trying to strengthen our backs right now? And then maybe we'll have a conversation after we climb this hill that needs to be climbed, right? But I feel protected when Black women listen to me. I feel protected when Black women support my ideas. I feel protected when Black women critique my ideas. I feel Black women protected in a variety of ways. When I get hurt, you know, when I just have somebody remind me that Rob, you need to sleep. You know, Rob, you know, you've been going. You're doing great. Breathe, bro. Take a break. I feel protected in those moments, you know. So I think of those elements, and I know that there are so many men in my life who appreciate the input and value of women around them.
Yeah.
I think that when we talk about extending that protection to a deeper soul level, it's like, you know, I've been having a conversation with guys about, you know, why do you really want a relationship at this point? You know, whether you've been successful, you've done these things, like what does it serve for you? And I like to explain to them that I want one to feel naked. I want one so I can be fully submerged at that point. I've had to compartmentalize. I've had to protect myself. I've had the ego versions. I've had so many versions, right? And I just want to do it in a different way. So when I think about protection, I just think about a place of safe landing, right?
And so with that, that is a very good point. But do we only find those in our romantic relationships? Because, you know, I know, because you mentioned, you know, wanting to have that, be able to be naked, to be your, you know, your whole self, and to show up as your full self, and then learn who you are. But is that not something that we can, that can happen through all of the relationships that we find ourselves in, I should say? And then how do we move towards shifting our attitudes towards one another, not just on a romantic level, but collectively, so that we can heal as a community?
Well, I mean, it starts with just redefining some things, you know, and I don't know. I see it happening, and I may just be super optimistic. And
I think I'm with you, though.
But I just see it. I remember, you know, being critiqued years ago for talking about certain topics, and maybe I didn't have the most thorough understanding, right? Because I was younger and I was just exploring some of these things for the first time. But it was like, I like to tell people, I didn't talk to older men about relationships and how to treat women until I published books about it.
Right.
It wasn't a conversation. I had to open up the conversation in my world, you know? So when we talk about improving as a community and our overall relations, we have to do what the Course in Miracles says, just let go of that fascination with specialness. It says specialness is the root of all wrong decisions. And this idea that we're separate, right? Which has created so many different biases and evils in the world. I think that we all, and it's not to say that we don't have unique spiritual divinity.
Right.
I am saying that the way we identify with being special has created so many walls in our personal world, our professional experience, and then ultimately our collective social gathering, right? Everybody wants to have the dominant opinion, and then this person wants to be right today, and then, you know, it's like we all want to be special in our own way, but ultimately we're all contributing to a physical human experience. We all gonna have to reconvene in the spiritual and atone for how we've interacted with each other in this physical experience.
That's really good. I love it. We're getting ready for some audience questions, but you make very great points, just like I knew you would. I'm loving the conversation, and Lord knows I wish we had a whole hour and some more. So we may have to reconnect, but in the future. But I know that all of these things that they're talking about, I do with you. I'm with you. I see a shift. I honestly do. And it seems as if men are learning to be more vulnerable. I'm seeing, right? Those walls are slowly coming down, and with brothers who are willing to step up and speak up and say, look, you deserve love. You deserve peace. You deserve to heal. Take a look inward before you come and, you know, put any more mess out into the world, right? Let's do the work together. And I think that is the thing that is going to take. Canceling people, even the likes of 50 Cent, for example, and, you know, Tory Lanez and all the people who frustrate us so online or in our real lives, even canceling them out does not give them the space to learn. And so one question that we have is, how does media play a role in this? In this whole conversation? Because again, men are supposed to be, you know, the leaders. They're supposed to be so strong. They're supposed to be, right? So how does the media play a role in all of this?
So I think one of the cool things I learned early on as a writer from one of my teachers, is he was saying that when something happens, yes, we have immediate thoughts, right? Yes, we have immediate opinions, but when given time to digest that, to really sit with it and consider some layers, we may have a more well-rounded reflection or feedback on that. And I think because we got to be the first one to be, have the opinion, the first one to post a story, the first one to get the scoop, there's a model that supports us going without thinking, right? And it is inducing everybody to just blurt things out and to just write things down. Yeah. And we got to meet the deadline and we got to say it. And, how can I say this witty? How can I get that across in the, so we got just daggers just being thrown, and we're calling it, I guess media, but really it's the media's responsibility in that, to me, would be to slow down the pace. Right? There has to be some way, because you got brilliant people just putting out all types of stuff that's being ignored. Like, we have to kind of get to this, but bigger than that, we have to stop lending. We have to. So there's a thing. It was like somebody says something ridiculous and then like 30 people repeat it, right? Somebody says something brilliant and then they might scroll by it, right? Or they just like it silently, right? But ultimately, we have to fine tune what we value.
Yes, very good.
We're not rushing to be the first one to check the food, right? Instead, we're actually the first to seek wisdom and amplify the knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? Because we are all way too eager to argue with people we consider foolish. So which one is goofy at that point? Yeah. Right? And all for the sake of thinking we're correcting the ignorance. It's like,
right.
You're feeding the neighborhood. Correcting, that's ignorance that's more tangible correcting than online, because people are going to spout things that get them communicated with.
Yeah,
they have to be the antagonist. They will be a great one.
Yeah,
and ultimately it's just kind of how those two work together.
That's really
but we have to ask ourselves, it's like, yes, media is sending out the messaging, but it's really, it has to be reflecting the heart of what people's desire.
Yeah. You said, like you said, fine tune what we value, right? Yeah. We really have to. We really do have to take that and run with it. And I think that people are too. It's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable. Those tweets and those posts that make us think, right? That actually challenge our values or make us take a step back and look at how we feel about a thing. I really admire the way that you said you've always, you were saying things years ago. You took some time to mature, but you did the work out loud, basically, right? You did your own work. And I know that there was the work that you did in your quiet time and in your journals and in your home, in your personal safe space. But being vulnerable in that way, you fine-tuned what you value, right? I tell people that even my own timeline is like a playlist. I curate what I want to see. I curate what is going to be a reflection of my voice. There are things that I might see and even chuckle at, but I'm not going to repost it, right? Because it's not a reflection of my deeper values, right? And so I think you're absolutely right. We have to be able to fine tune that in order to be able to move forward as individuals and collectively, for sure.
I always throw people this quote biblically. It says, "Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it." Yeah. Proverbs 4:23, and that's important to me, because that this heart and this heart.
Yeah, that's really good. That's you keeping it simple. And I think, let me see if we have any more questions here, brother. It's been a great conversation for sure. I love the work that you're doing around healing hearts, around healing communities. We all have our role to play, right? Every listener, every viewer that's here right now. And every person that is light begets light. I say that online all the time. We're the light, we be the light, and it begets light. And it goes back to what you're tweeting, what you value, right? And so as always, we want to make sure that we are giving others space to grow and to apply the lessons that they've learned as they go along the journey. Now, as for me, I don't know how you are, but I'm getting over, every once in a while I still get caught up, not arguing, but kind of going back and forth with fools, right? Every once in a while our flesh should get involved. But but all in all, all in all, I have to make a determination on what I'm going to represent today. Does anyone else have questions? Let's see.
We'll always throw out too, just to rebut. It's like, we have to let the positive be the higher frequency. Sometimes, we tend to take the intellectual passive route. It's like, I'm not going to respond. But we have to be there's an important show on Showtime called The Loudest Voice in the Room, and it talks about how that the guy, I'm not a fan of him obviously, but helped Fox grow, and he helped amplify the president that we have now, right? But he had a mission to be the loudest voice in the room, right? And you see that this is still a tactic that guy used, but we have to combat that, through action, but also through expression. And that's all I was trying to do when I was younger. I might not know how to say it best, but I know if I get to talk in this language, I'm going to be included in a conversation that allows me to learn how to articulate it better. And once I do, I'm going to take it back to the people who couldn't say it to me.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's really all it's been. That's all.
I love it. And that is excuse me, I think that's a great point to end on. You all don't be afraid of what you don't know, right?
Right.
And I know that for me personally, that has held me back for years because, I didn't think that I had the voice because I didn't have the knowledge, because I couldn't articulate what I was feeling in my heart.
Right.
But here we are all these years later, and sometimes we got to be loud and wrong to get it right. Right? Put it out there.
Put yourself out there.
Put it out there. Put it out there.
Refinement. It's all good.
Excuse me. Well, thank you, Rob Hill Sr. It's been a pleasure. This is a wrap. It's been a pleasure speaking with you tonight. Again, this is Anti-Cancel Culture. We're talking Black love and Black community, right? We have a ways to go. We've come such a long ways, but we have a ways to go. And I know that we can do it through grace and the canceling of this cancel culture. All right. Please be sure to tune in with us next week. We will be back with another live show. For now, you can catch us on Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Android TV, Google Chromecast, or your Apple TV device at KL Jones Network. Make sure you download the KP Media TV app, and you can always find us on Facebook and YouTube. We are everywhere and taking over. Peace and God bless. Nice is the new cool. Let's go get it. TV, Google Chromecast, or your Apple TV device at KL Jones Network. Make sure you download the KP Media TV app, and you can always find us on Facebook and YouTube. We are everywhere and taking over. Peace and God bless. Nice is the new cool. Let's go get it.